Hello and welcome to GTO Coach and Go. I'm Jim Delleman with Group Travel Odyssey. I want to thank you for joining us again today. And before we get started on today's topic, I want to remind you if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And if you ring the bell, you'll be notified anytime that we have new content on our YouTube channel. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn at Group Travel Odyssey and make sure to like our Facebook page as well. Again, Group Travel Odyssey. Well, today we are going to be introducing a little bit of new information that I know some of you have been asking for, and it's our grid pricing cost sheet. I'm certainly not going to go into explaining this for you. So let's bring on our lead engineer, Christina Luth. Christina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jim?
Doing really good. Doing really good. As I said, we're going to be talking about the grid pricing cost sheet today. And again, I'm sure I could fumble through what some of it is, but you are the expert on this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to you to explain what it is, how they can use it, things like that. So again, grid pricing cost sheet.
Absolutely. So just to start off, what we're talking about today, if you're not familiar, we offer two types of pricing models within your proposal in the sales manager application. So the one that most of you use is our standard pricing, where you'll see you have the option between like a sext, quint, quad, triple, double, single, and then one price for all. But that's only if you have one passenger amount that you put on your proposal. Some of you like to have a range of prices if your passenger numbers were to change. So let's say your minimum is 35, you go up to 55 with increments of 5 per range, something of that sort. So that's what we're talking about today, is that type of pricing model where you have a passenger range happening. So now we're going to go into the details about that and how you can look at the costs about it all. So we're going to flip to share my screen.
Keep doke.
All right, so we are on my test trip here in the sales manager application. This is the proposal. So what I wanted to first show you is a little bit about grid pricing for those of you who maybe are new to GTO or looking into GTO or maybe even currently use grid pricing. So first of all, the set selling price button, this is where you can turn on grid pricing. So you will see a checkbox here that says use grid pricing based upon ranges. That is how you turn this on, is checking this box. Next, what you will do is put in your smallest group range. So you can see I put in 30 as my starting point, and then 5. So what you will notice here, and I will explain once I get into the cost sheet, is I do have a different range for my number of passengers. It does not start at 30. Again, I will go into that in a moment about how that is different. But the part I wanted to show you here is this is where you can see all of those prices calculated out into the different ranges of passengers and your selling type. So you're having this chart here. If for some reason you made a change to your calculations, you would push this recreate selling prices button. The easiest way that I have found is just to delete them all and then push the button and it recreates it. So if you did make a change to anything that might affect calculations on your trip, that's how you would regenerate that. All right, so we're just gonna go back to our proposal here. And the next place I want to show you is on the generate proposal button. So previously, if you had been using grid pricing, you would have noticed that this section up here, the selling prices, was only showing you the standard pricing model. So now what we've done is if you do elect to use the grid pricing model on the last screen I just displayed, you would be able to see this grid here instead, as that is what will show on your proposal documentation. Now, for those of you who have a custom proposal or custom travel agreement that uses pricing, you probably have this type in your proposal if you're electing to use grid pricing. Now, this button over here, that's the one I was just talking about on the other screen. So this is just seeing it once again to recreate those selling prices. If you're not seeing the correct price here, you've made a change. And then this is a button that is new that says add line to grid for comp details. What that does, I'm going to push it. Just going to wait a moment or so, just refresh. Is it adds this line right here. Now, a couple of you that use grid pricing have reached out to us as far as what you want this to display on your documents. So if you are one of those people, just know we have it showing on your document the way that you want it to show. But ultimately, what this is doing is it's adding a line into your grid here for the total included comps. So since this is a changing number of people on your trip, if you have a ratio for number of comps, this might also change. So it's just a way to show your group leaders, people going on the trip, how if they change their number of people, they might also change the number of complementary trips. So that's what that line is meant for. All right, and now to get into the big meat of this. All right, we're going to go to the cost sheet. So the same button that you've been seeing all along for our standard pricing, you're going to go ahead and push that. And it's still going to go to the standard pricing cost sheet, as that is what you will also want to know about when you move to Trip Manager. You're going to want to look at that standard pricing, as that is what follows you through. But now you can also go to the grid pricing cost sheet with this blue button. All right, so the grid pricing cost sheet. So we have a lot of information on here, and I'm going to try to walk this through with you about all the different steps. So it mimics the same idea as the standard pricing cost sheet, if you're familiar with that, but it's basically breaking down all the components of your trip price calculation, so you can really see where all of the different amounts of money is coming from and adding up to your trip price. So first off, we have a tab here called All Trip Products. So this is a report that will show you all of the products on your trip. If they're not scheduled on a certain day, you'll see those at the top. Otherwise, it's going to be the itinerary you will see here. And it will show you for each range, which remember that range is number of people. It'll show you what is being calculated for that range for that specific product. So a lot of numbers here. I know it looks a little intense, but what is helpful for you is if, let's say, you want to see this city cruises and you want to know how much it is per person changing for each of your range, that's what it's doing here. So this one you can see doesn't change too much, just a few cents here and there, but that is what you can look at. Now, seeing that, there are some products that might change more based upon the ranges. Typically, those are things that you've gotten a quote on or some type of group price. So we're going to move into that with these next tabs. First is airline or rail. That actually is going to stay the same. So that's a per person cost, and it's going to be the same quoted amount from your airfare quote if you were to have included that. And it will carry through. And now we go into hotel and receptive. So the first one that you see here is going to be a report, as it says, of the hotel or receptive costs breakdown. So this is very similar to what you will see on the standard price cost sheet. You can kind of widen these rows a little bit if you're trying to see the number at the bottom. And ultimately, it's going to show you what's being calculated in. So with hotel and receptive costs, this is where I said I would explain that difference a little bit later. We have another model here with ranged quoting that you can reference on a prior Coach and Go, the receptive quote ranges Coach and Go, if you want to know more about this. But if you have a receptive where you've received a quote, where it tells you a number of people per range, and then that has a quad rate at that range and a triple rate at that range, think of a grid. If you received a grid from a receptive quote, this section down here will pop up. So those of you who use that receptive ranged quote, you will very much like this section, as it's going to show you exactly at each point how much is being calculated in for your ranged quote. This does not include the standard hotel cost. We're going to get to that in a moment. So this is just that ranged quote. All right. So I'm going to pause for people to think. All right. Now we're going to move on to tour director and motor coach. So what you will see in the first report here are your tour director products. I ended up just using some basic ones here to show you the two different ways we've seen people add a tour director or tour manager. So this one being a tour manager, this one being a tour director. So if you have a miscellaneous group cost for your tour manager, or if you've put in a member specific price for your tour director, you might see that with a per day rate or a tip per day that you add. So that's just showing you your generic pricing. But with grid pricing, your number of tour directors or tour managers could change. That's not the case here, but let's say that you have a wide range where maybe you've said that for every one tour director, they can handle 60 people. Well, if you cross your 60 people, you've moved into a second tour director. That's something you can control on your proposal. Usually it's based upon number of buses, but this is just to show you how that price is going to change. So you will see under this one, that was the tour manager, all we had was a flat price of the miscellaneous group, and there's only one tour director or tour manager the whole time. So that is why it's staying at that one at $1,000. But this first one was the tour director, and it had gratuity of that per day per person, which is why you are seeing a difference, because at each range, we have a different number of people. So just to point out that this is showing you number of tour director or tour managers, and then the full price, not the per person, but the full price for them. And then we go to motor coach. So similar to what we have above for tour director, this top section showing you what you have on your quote as costs for the motor coach. And then the second one is going to show you the number of coaches and then the total cost. That total cost will, in the trip price, would be divided up by the range for people. So this is just the total cost, not the per person cost. So with this, you can see where, see range number 9, we have moved to 2 coaches. So this is something I know from those of you that use grid pricing is really important to you, is to see where that price is going to change. Because actually the trip price for your clients might go up, even though they have more people in this range 9 than it was in this range 8. So I know for those of you who use grid pricing, this is going to be important for you to see where exactly that change in coach is going to occur, because it's going to make that price double for motor coach, or maybe triple. Okay. And finally, the final product of it all is the trip calculation, breaking it all down into the total pieces. So the first thing you will see here is going to be what you have selected. So the margin, your admin fees, your airline margin, your range, and also your what you selected for room types to be showing. So these are collapsed, but you can uncollapse them by pushing the little icon here. And this first one is going to show you the trip costs collected together for all of your trip products. That one would include your motor coach, by the way, and then airfare, and then hotel and receptive. So first we show the total product cost per person. Again, like I mentioned, this would include motor coach per person. If you would like to see a breakdown, that's what this first tab is for. And you can see per range, per product, what that price is. Next, we have our airfare. And finally, hotel and receptive. Now, this is where I said that later on you would see the actual total that's being put into your calculation. So as we have used that receptive ranged quote, you will see here we have those numbers from the ranged quote. And it's adding in that quote amount plus the other hotel that I've added. So you can see on my trip here, if I go back to all my products, that I have an awesome hotel. So that is where that is coming from. I have a receptive and I have a hotel. So that might not happen for you most of the time. That was just to show you some different things that could occur for calculations. And now we get down to the next set of trip costs, which would be the complimentary trips, admin fees, and margin. So this is for each range, the amount that's being priced in to cover the cost of the comp. And this is a per person. Next is other calculation items that you may have used. So if you decided to use invoice line items, that does become a part of the calculation. So that is showing you here. And then airline margin amount. So this is actually the airline calculation times the margin that you've set.
Hey, Christina, we've got a quick question here.
Absolutely.
David was wondering, he's still using the old buttons and tabs version, the first GTO that came out. Is this grid price and cost sheet available in that version, or is they going to have to switch to use this? They can still use it even though they're using that, but it's going to look like this, correct?
Yes. So you can still get to the grid price cost sheet. So so you are using the original version of the proposal in Sales Manager. So you will find that under your tab for set selling price. I believe it's under there with the button that says go to cost sheet. It's like a white button that will get you to standard pricing, which you can then get to the grid price cost sheet from there.
And David, if you have questions on that, Christina can definitely show you how to do that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it is available. You don't have to switch everything over to the new version of it, but you will be able to still use this and still be able to see what she is showing you right now.
Absolutely, 100%. All right. So then jumping back in. So we next have admin fees. So this is going to show you, at each point in your calculation process, your total amount of admin fees. And of course, it is rounded as it's rounded in the trip price calculation. So this is going to account for your per person admin fee and your percent admin fee. So that is what this amount is here. Next is margin. So this is also showing you at each point in the range how much is being put in for your margin. So just the margin. So you can see here, this is the costs and then multiplied by whatever you've selected for that margin percentage. So this is each point in the range. And then finally, the last section is just what I had shown you in the other areas, another place where you can see your final grid price appearance. And like I mentioned again, if you've made any changes that could affect the calculation, maybe you changed something on a trip product, maybe you selected a different pricing level, make sure to push this recreate selling prices button, as that would affect your trip price. And you don't want to have the wrong one here. Ultimately, like I said again, you can always just delete out the old and generate the new if you're uncertain of what is the correct one. That's usually the easiest thing for you to do. All right, and that is the grid price cost sheet. Just a quick thing to note here as well. This is a brand new feature. So we are kind of looking for a little bit of feedback. So if you are finding that something is maybe not calculated the way you thought it would be, please put in a help desk request. You can also reach out to us at help@gtonetwork.com and put help in the subject line. There you go. We put it on the screen there to let us know if something just looks a little bit off, as we just are kind of looking for some feedback. We've done a lot of testing ourselves, but it's always nice when we have a new launch of this product that you kind of give us that feedback. And that is what we have.
Excellent. And let's see, we've got one more question here. Right now, Dave is not seeing anything in the set selling price tab or selling price button.
I'll reach out.
And yeah, Christina's going to reach out once we're done here, and she can walk you through where that's going to be located, and we'll get you all set with using this. And as Christina said as well, we want the feedback. We want you to go in and take a look at this and see if it looks like the calculations are what you're expecting and what you're looking at. We are, here to help you and here to work through any issues that you may have with it, if any. And we will definitely, reach back out and get stuff fixed up the way that you definitely need them to be. Christina, thank you so much for all of that information. And just to remind everybody that GTO Coach and Go happens every other Tuesday at 2:00 Eastern time. So in 2 weeks, we will be back with some more information that we can share with you, as well as that. And the weeks that we don't have Coach and Go, we do have GTO Fast Break, which is a quick video snippet that will give you some updates and suggestions and tips on how to use our system more efficiently. Those Fast Break episodes can be found on our community forum page in GTO. So for those of you who are GTO members, you can go into the community forum and you will be able to find where we have posted the GTO Fast Breaks as well. A reminder, if you've not done so, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of the Coach and Goes are listed on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and take a look at some of the other stuff that Christina was talking about earlier, you can go to our YouTube channel and go into the Coach and Goes, and you can scroll through and you'll be able to see them by topic. So by all means, go back in there and take a look and see if there's anything that you will find helpful. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us today. And Christina, thank you so much for going through all of this. I know, as I said, it's much more technical than my brain will allow me to explain. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking about all of this today and showing all of our members how they can use this grid pricing cost sheet. For those of you who do need assistance, please, again, reach out through the help desk, put help in the title, and we will get back in touch with you. David, Christina will be reaching out as well. And other than that, we hope you have a fantastic day. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching this episode of GTO Coach and Go. We invite you to stay connected with Group Travel Odyssey on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and be sure to check out more of our media, including Destination Dispatch and the Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast. Please visit our website, grouptravelodyssey.com, where you can learn more about GTO and request a demo. Group Travel Odyssey, business without boundaries.